Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It's my pleasure to close the second day of debate on this year's spring budget. This is a budget for long-term growth, and today we've heard a number of excellent speeches about the importance of growth in our economy. Now, despite multiple forecasters suggesting growth would be historically poor, our economy grew last year, it will grow this year, and it will grow every year to the end of the next period. That's because we're recovering from the global pandemic shocks we have faced in recent years, far better than anybody expected. Inflation is down to 4%, on track to target 2% by the end of Q2. Mortgage rates have come down from their peak, real wages are rising, and the IMF have already predicted that we will grow faster than Germany, France and Italy in the next 5 years. But I recognise that we are living through a level of geopolitical uncertainty and risk that for many of us is unprecedented in our lifetime. We are, as my right honourable friend for Ashford said, mitigating and navigating choppy waters. And so as we seek to balance optimism with uncertainty, we seek to pave a path to responsible, sustainable growth that will support families and firms in every part of this country. To this end, this budget has 3 key objectives: to reward work, to grow the economy and to improve public sector productivity. These objectives work together because higher growth means more opportunity, more prosperity and more funding for public services. It's why we're cutting national insurance contributions again for working people, because a simple, fairer tax system must be at the heart of our economy, as my right honourable friend for North East Hampshire has consistently championed. More money in people's pockets, more revenue for businesses, more growth in our economy, but just as importantly, sending a clear and unequivocal message that work must always pay. This is a fundamental Conservative value, as is our support for families. And my right honourable friend for South Holland and the Deepings made a powerful speech about the importance of the institution of the family, something he and I have consistently agreed on. Now, there have been many comments about specific industries in the speeches today, and this budget contains a suite of measures across sectors and industries to keep our economy growing. The member for Mitcham and Morden, who is sadly not in her place, mentioned life sciences, and I can tell her and the House that building on the £520 million of funding announced for the life science manufacturing sector at the autumn statement last year, this budget we have announced grants from existing funds of £84 million of joint government and industry investment, and the Chancellor announced in the budget speech that AstraZeneca intend to invest £650 million in Cambridge and Liverpool to boost our life sciences sector and supporting the innovation so brilliantly championed by my honourable friend, the member for Mid-Norfolk. Mr. Deputy Speaker, several members have recognised the support for the creative industries. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, there is one thing that we do better than almost any other country, and that is making films and television. From Pride and Prejudice to Paddington 2, our creative industries make us a soft power superpower, but they are also a key driver of economic growth, supporting over 2 million jobs domestically. That's why we've announced a film studio business rates relief, reducing bills by some 40%, a tax credit for UK independent films, and more funding for the National Film and Television School. But this government will also make the current tax reliefs for theatres, exhibitions by museums and galleries, and orchestras permanent from the 1st of April 2025. No other country provides tax reliefs for orchestras and museums and galleries like we do. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this was a budget for the performance sector, and we were subjected to a 40-minute characteristic performance by the Shadow Health Secretary, who sadly is no longer in his place. Sometimes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Sometimes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, some people talk too much but say too little. And in 40 minutes, he failed to mention that in Wales, where Labour are actually in charge of the NHS, people are almost twice as likely to be waiting for treatment as they are in NHS England. It is the Conservative budget that is delivering £2.5 billion extra for the NHS and investing £3.4 billion to unlock £30 billion of productivity gains. Investment is going into places like North Herefordshire, and we heard a brilliant speech from my honourable friend about the diagnostic centre at Hereford Hospital and maternity services as championed consistently by my honourable friend for Truro and Falmouth. My honourable friend and Lincolnshire neighbour asked how we are supporting pensioners, and as my right honourable friend for Ludlow pointed out, we're doing that through the triple lock which we introduced several years ago. This state pension will increase by 8.5% in April and is £3,500 higher than it was in 2010. And as my honourable friend for Basildon and Billericay highlighted, we are taking action to boost pension returns through the Mansion House Compact and a series of other capital market reforms. My honourable friend for Southend West gave an excellent speech about supporting small businesses, and she is right to highlight the Chancellor's decision to increase VAT thresholds from £85,000 to £90,000. My honourable friend for Penrith and the Border highlighted the importance of the rural economy and spoke comprehensively about the damage the Labour Party did to our economy up to 2010. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would like to congratulate genuinely all members from across the House on their contributions this evening, but I particularly appreciated the brass-necked wind-up by the official opposition. Let us never forget that in 2010, Labour left office with less people in work, more debt to pay off, and a deficit ballooning out of control. Contrast this with the UK in 2024. Despite having to deal with the worst pandemic in 100 years, the worst war in mainland Europe since 1945, and the highest energy spike since the 1970s, we will have this year inflation back to target, unemployment at record lows, wages rising, taxes on work falling, 4 million more people on the payroll since 2010, 3 million less people paying any income tax at all, the fastest decarbonisation in the G7, the highest state pension we've ever seen, and the total departmental spending up 7% in cash terms this Parliament. The last thing this country needs right now is 5 years hard labour. It is the Conservatives who will push people up who want to succeed, not pull them down when they do succeed. It's Conservatives who believe in the dignity of work that best delivers prosperity. And it's the Conservatives who know that growth cannot and should not solely come from the floor of this House of Commons, but from the thermal insulation factory floors of Darlington and the ceramic factory floors of Stoke-on-Trent. It is the workers and businesses that will drive our growth. This is a budget for them, and I commend it to the House.